Hey, what's up guys? So I apologize for not making a video these past couple days. I've been feeling kind of sick since Sunday, and I've just been coming home, crashing after work, taking some meds. So yeah, sorry about that, but I'm feeling better, so I think we're back on track. And this is finally going to be the bot tier list video that I've been promising you guys, and once again, this is just my opinion. All these bots, they have their pros and cons. Some of them are better in certain situations. But aside from that, let's just go ahead and I guess rank them. So first, let's go ahead with the tacticians. My personal favorite and coming in at first is OG Optimus Prime. So aside from being the strongest tactician, I feel like he's the strongest overall bot in the game. His kit and synergies guarantee him survivability with his armor buff and ratchet heal. His heavies provide him damage buffs per each member on your team, up to 4, and this allows him to output surprising amounts of damage. All of his specials provide armor breaks, further increasing his damage, but the best thing about OG is his signature plus special 3 combo. So his special 3 will apply the permanent armor break, and his signature allows him to continuously apply bleeds on the opponent throughout the fight, and this basically just means that he melts a bunch of characters instantly. Basically any character except for MV1, but he still does surprising damage to MV1. In my ROK video, I mainly ran with Optimus, and honestly I can't see running ROK without any other character. Even like using a 3-star Ratchet would work really well, but he just basically made the fight so much easier, and for that, for his signature and his permanent armor break, I think he is the best bot in the game. And coming in second, I had a tough time deciding between Starscream and Bumblebee. I think it could go either or, but I chose Starscream. So he's recently a playable bot. His null rate helps make him a top contender for the tactician class. His range attacks will nullify a damage or armor buff, instantly applying shock damage, and this allows him to completely melt brawlers, including the likes of Prowl, Bludgeon, and Bumblebee. He's also got an armor break on his special 2, and his special 1 provides a precision buff, applying increased ranged speed and damage. And his special 3 also nullifies, I think, like up to 5 buffs. So it allows him to do like really strong burst damage, and at the same time just negating the buffs of your enemies. Third, I put Bumblebee. While he still packs a punch, he does require you to ramp up his damage by hitting your opponent with a few heavies. His special 1 is just a basic 2-hit attack. His second and third will apply shock damage, which will increase the damage if the opponent has an armor buff. For his signature, his evasiveness helps keep him like relevant up in the top, but you do need a high signature to keep the ranged or melee evade switching back and forth. He's also really good as a base defender, so don't count him out. But can't wait to see whenever like a 4-star Bumblebee comes out, just to see like how strong he really is. But in the alliance missions, he's super annoying to deal with. And last but not least, Ultra Magnus. I don't play with him that much, but all 3 of his specials apply armor breaks, which are very effective against MV1 or grinders. His special 2 and his special 3 also apply burns, and the main thing for Ultra Magnus is his resistance buffs, which alternate depending on what he is getting hit by, ranged or melee. I think they stack up to like 10 times, and just because of that, I feel like he's much better as a base defender on Harm Accelerator or the new security module to help prolong the fight. Not to mention his signature, it actually doesn't really do much. I don't think Kabam even knows what it does. We still haven't gotten like an official statement on what his signature does. So just for that, I feel like he's he's the worst tactician. He's not bad by all means, but he's just the worst out of the tacticians class. And let's go ahead and move on to let's go with the warriors. So for the warriors, I still put Bone Crusher at first. I think he's still the king of the warrior class. His heavies are very reliable when it comes to applying bleeds, and in combination with his signature, every stack of bleed increases his attack and power gain and decreases the opponent's by the same amount. Each stack also helps prevent scouts from evading his attacks. I think the best thing about Bone Crusher is his bleed passive. So whenever he gets hit by a crit, he has a chance to apply a bleed stack on the opponent. And the introduction of the crit rate mastery, it makes going against him very difficult. Pretty much every bot, not every bot, but mainly the scouts, and even now, if you go up against a Bone Crusher and you have that crit mastery, you're more than likely going to get a few stacks of bleed on you. And in Alliance missions at the higher levels, Bone Crusher, he can be a pain to deal with if you don't use like an MB1 or an Ironhide. And coming in second, I put Drift. He gains increased crit at the 5-hit combo, increased crit damage at 10, and his signature further helps extend the duration of bleeds, giving himself a chance to evade melee attacks from bleeding opponents. He's very reliant on his combo meter to keep the crits and crit damage going, but that doesn't stop him from basically melting down opponents, and his special 3 looks super awesome. Can't wait to dupe my 4-star Drift. For third, I don't have, oops, I'm missing Hot Rod here. I forgot I forged my Hot Rod. It was a tough choice between Hot Rod and RC, but I think Hot Rod is a little bit better than RC. I know he's not in the picture. Actually, let's pull up my 4-star Hot Rod real quick. Where is he? There he is. So I put Hot Rod at third. He's a crit machine thanks to his deceleration on range attacks, and after applying deceleration you can pull off a full 5-hit combo plus special and have almost every hit crit, which really increases his damage output. And deceleration also applies reduced power to the opponents, and his signature increases his power flow whenever he activates a special attack. This also allows him to evade ranged attacks and generate power really quickly. I know in this last night challenge, Hot Rod was kind of a pain to deal with, especially when he would use like a special and then it would activate his acceleration signature, and he would just start gaining power like crazy. Like after a 5-hit combo that you would do on him, he would have like his special 2 up and ready to go again. It was pretty crazy. And oops, let's get out of here. Who were we on? I keep forgetting that the filter is up here. So for fourth, I put RC. She's really strong. She's very squishy though. She's not the same glass cannon that she was back in beta, but she's still really strong, and I think she's very underrated. Most players don't notice her damage with a 3-star, but a 4-star RC can destroy characters with her ranged crit headshots. Kind of similar to Starscream, her headshots apply instant damage and apply the same damage as bleed over time. She gains power on crits very quickly, and her special 3 is really strong. I think you do need to have like a high signature with RC though for her precision buff to go off, and then her range attacks start critting and dealing a lot of headshots. But she does a lot of damage with those headshots. And last but not least, on the warrior class we have Bludgeon. I've said it time and time again, he was a power gaining monster back in beta, but he was drastically nerfed. He has bleed on crits and an armor buff, but that's about it. His heavy and specials have a chance to stun, but that's not enough to make him like top tier. His signature also requires you to miss a melee attack to provide you with the crit damage. Not worth it in my opinion. Any bot that requires you, like that grants you like a buff or something, but requires you to miss or get hit, I don't think it's worth it at all, because you never want to get in this game. Especially at the higher levels, you just get destroyed really quickly. So that's it for the warrior class. And let me know guys if I miss anything for any of the characters or any of the class. Oops, I took off 3-star. Okay, what's next? Let's do brawlers. Oh boy. Brawlers are some of the I think it's one of the toughest classes to classify or to rank, because most of these are they're strong. 2 of them are the strongest that come to mind, and I always flip-flop when I'm ranking them. I think last time I put Motormaster first, this time I'm putting Optimus Prime MB1 first. I think he's definitely better, and the longer you progress in the game, he has a long-lasting armor buff that can constantly be refreshed by blocking, and a chance at getting a very strong melee buff. He can never have more than one bleed stack on him, and he will purify the excess and convert it to power. When he does have a bleed stack on him, all of his attacks will heal him for a percentage of the damage dealt. All specials have a chance to inflict bleeds on the opponent, and his special one can do surprising amounts of damage the lower his health is. Not to mention his signature pretty much saves him for like, how many seconds? Almost like 10 seconds, I think. I think it's a little bit less, like 7. But basically it just saves him from dying unless he gets bursted down by like an Ironhide special 3 or something. But it just allows him to stay in the fight a little bit longer and deal a lot more damage. And second would be Motormaster. He can also be first, honestly. You can look at this either way. The best thing about Motormaster, in my opinion, is his unstoppable buff on dashes and special 2. His heavies also have a chance at applying armor breaks, power, or attack debuffs. His overall kit allows him to constantly be up close and in the opponent's face. His signature in combination with the Courage Mastery allows him to deal very high damage on melee hits the lower his health is. And I think overall he's a very strong bot for like new players. Mainly just once duped he becomes a whole nother story, but overall top tier brawler. Oops, I clicked on MV1 by accident. And up next, I put Grimlock, but honestly this can, Grimlock and Grinder, they can go back and forth as well. Grimlock is decent, but in order for him to deal like really high amounts of damage, you have to get hit in order to obtain melee buffs or purify damage over time procs with his signature. And I'm very against those kind of bots that require you to miss or get hit to grant you a buff. His heavies have a chance to apply burn, same with his special 1 and his special 3. But the best thing about Grimlock is his signature. It allows him to purify damage over time procs from like Bone Crusher, Soundwave, and convert them into melee buffs, so you can actually do surprising amounts of damage. But like I said, it requires you to get hit. So that's kind of not good. Double-edged sword, I guess, the way you look at it. And then I put Grindor, Big Daddy Grinder at the end. He hasn't really changed since the beta. His signature allows him to output high amounts of damage depending on how much power the enemy has, and this allows him to actually deal surprising amounts of damage at times. He has a very strong armor buff, and overall he's very tanky, and I would highly recommend him as a base defender since he can prolong the fight to potentially land like a special 3. And what class should we go over next? I guess the scouts. Let's go over the scouts. Oh man, so for the scouts, honestly, this one, it's like a 3-way tie for number 1 between Prowl, Windblade, and Barricade. I put Prowl at number 1 just because I like him a little bit more. They're really, like, they're neck and neck with each other. Like, it's super hard to rank them. So Prowl, he can stack up to 10 melee buffs, and if duped, he gains power very quickly per melee stack. What this allows him to do is control the battle with his special 1 as it power drains the opponent. I really like spamming my special 1 over and over again, never allowing the opponent to use a single special the entire fight. And his special 2 is 2 shotgun blasts that can do decent damage, and his special 3 just power locks the opponent, although it doesn't do too much damage. But those melee buffs, they're really good. And his power gain is amazing as well. And I ranked up next, I would put Windblade. She would be first on the list probably if I play with her a little bit more, but her bleeds are no joke. They stack really quickly, and they deal tons of damage and stun at 4 bleed stacks, or if the opponent is hit by a ranged attack while bleeding. Her heavy allows her to evade ranged attacks, and this applies to enemy ranged specials as well. Her special 1 applies a shock, special 2 is an armor piercing hit. But the only thing I don't like about Windblade is her special 3. I think it does like really low amounts of damage unless your Windblade is like ranked up really high, but it doesn't do too much damage and it has a small chance to stun. So I don't think her special 3, I don't think anybody really uses her special 3 just for that reason, that it's just so low on damage. If it was better, she'd probably be first. So up next, I put Barricade. I think he's the dark horse of the scouts. I think I said this before, but his backfire procs, they deal so much damage if the opponent activates a special. And if he's knocked down, he gets a very strong evade on both his melees and his range attacks, and a very strong crit buff. His special 1 applies a backfire proc, and his special 2 power steals, and his special 3 grants him a crit buff with a very long duration. And not to mention his passive, he has increased crit damage the more power the opponents have stored, so he can actually do surprising amounts of damage. I like mainly just using like range attacks with Barricade and saving up for like a special 2, that way I can kind of control the fight and constantly keep the opponent like power drained, that way they never activate like their special 3 or anything like that. And last but not least, we have Sideswipe. This guy was a beast back in beta, but ever since his nerf, he dropped to the bottom of the list in my opinion. If you guys remember him in beta, every time Sideswipe would have his evade up, every single hit would stun the opponent, and he would gain power like crazy, I think, from his signature. So he would always just constantly be stunning the opponent and doing so much damage, but ever since they got rid of that, all he really has going for him are his crit buffs and crit damage whenever he dodges like an opponent's dash, which he can do damage, but if you get knocked down, that gets reset, and that's basically all he has going for him. His evade, it's kind of short. I think it's only like 5, 6 or 7 seconds. He does gain power whenever he dodges ranged attacks, but it's kind of small. Yeah, overall, if he was a little bit better, a little bit stronger, definitely play with him a lot more. So up next, let's move on to the Demolitions class. I think we're at the demo class. Yeah. Alright, we have 5 Demolition class characters, guys. And I think in my previous video, I don't know who I ranked first. I didn't rank Ironhide first. I don't know if I ranked Waspinator. I don't know what I was thinking. But I would put Ironhide definitely at the top of the list. He has very consistent burn procs on his missiles. Every missile will crit, and his signature allows him to burst opponents down with a single special. If he ever does take damage, he will obtain a crit damage buff, further increasing his damage from missiles. Not to mention, he's very good going up against like Ramjet, because his basic attacks will never, not Ramjet, sorry, Rhinox, because his basic attacks, they'll never crit on the opponent, so he's really good there. So let him show you his cannons with his signature, because that thing hurts. He can basically like one-shot almost any character. And up next, I put Megatron. He's a really tanky demolition character with some nice burst and survivability. Every hit on the opponent applies an impair charge, increasing the crit rate and crit damage on his next heavy. Passively, he has 10% armor. His signature heals him at critical health, and he gains an unstoppable buff 3 times throughout the fight whenever he drops below a certain health percentage. And if the enemy, I think if they dodge your heavy attack, Megatron will gain like an attack buff. So he has ways of bursting down the opponent, and overall he's super strong as a base defender. Him on laser guidance module just absolutely wrecks just about any character. It's really tough to play against him. Up third, I put Waspinator. The little wasp, he can do surprising amounts of damage whenever he has 2 to 3 resistance debuffs on the opponent. His signature allows him to revive once throughout the fight, and I think it purifies any like debuffs that he has on him. Below 50% health, his ranged attack speed increases tremendously, not to mention his heavies really hurt. And they also apply a resistance debuff. And below 25% health, he gains a special damage buff, making him a force to be reckoned with as he's close to death. Prior to the laser guidance module, he was taking down entire teams. He's still a great base defender in my opinion. We just kind of have to get used to applying like 1 or 2 of those resistance debuffs on the opponent first, and then using like a special or going in and doing like a 5-hit combo. That's how you would maximize your damage output with Waspinator. And tied for 4th, I would put Mixmaster and Ramjet. I don't really like Mixmaster, but let's just go over Mixmaster first, I guess. I don't have too much to say for him other than he has a crit damage and a special damage. He is a crit damage and a special damage buff gaining bot. At max stacks, he can do a lot of damage on his signature, and his signature helps gain those buffs quicker if you successfully block an attack right before it hits you, aka a parry. But overall, I don't really like having to like wait for the buffs to come up and then using like your special 3 or waiting till you get like a debuff, like an acid debuff or a burn off on the opponent in order to use your special. That's the only way that Mixmaster like actually does damage, but he does hurt if he is able to get in a special off. Sorry, I'm rambling. I've been talking for like 21 minutes. Jesus. Let's see. Up next, I would put, last but not least, I would put Ramjet. He's the newest addition to the Demolitions class. He deals burns on his specials, Unstoppable Heavy Attack, and a special 3 that actually stuns himself, which I don't like at all. I'm not too sure if he has a lot of burst damage. This 3-star rank 3 Ramjet, it doesn't feel like he does too much damage, but he has very strong synergies with Starscream and Motormaster that can make him, you know, viable as a playable character. But I guess once we do our Ramjet, I guess we'll actually see if he's can do a lot of burst damage, because I know his signature will ramp up his special damage. So we'll just have to wait on that. But just for that, I put him at last. Alright guys, and last but not least, the tech class. Oh man, so this class, honestly, you can put 4 of these guys at first. It doesn't even matter. This is just gonna be, I guess, my ranking once again. But of course, I would put Shockwave last, and I'll go over him as to why. But any other one of these characters, Soundwave, Rhinox, Ratchet, Mirage, they can be first. Just depends on who you like playing more. But for me, I would put Ratchet first. I think his heal is very OP. He's a very safe Alliance mission bot to take with you. Even though his heavy procs heal at below 50% health, he no longer suffers from the damage penalty. I think the damage penalty was like 10% while he was healing, and that really decreases damage. His special 2 heals him a lot the lower his health is, and his special 3 hits very hard and grants you an increased crit rate for quite a while. His range attacks also cause shock damage, and he can stun shocked enemies with his crits or special 1, allowing him to stun lock opponents for 2 to 3 combos basically. You just stun the opponent, back up, I think you're able to get off like 5 range attacks, and if you have enough power to do another special 1, you can go ahead and do another special 1, and there's another chance to stun the opponent, and you just keep doing that over and over again until you don't have any more power to do another special. But overall, I think Ratchet's like really strong despite the nerf that he got, and not to mention his synergy with OG Prime. It's amazing. Second, I put Soundwave. With his heavy now applying shock, I've grown to like him like a little bit more. He came in handy in the last night challenge against Megatron on the ranged heal mod. His power gain is great. His special 2 hits hard, applies shock, and power gains up to special 3. His special 1 has a chance to stun and can power drain, and his special 3 does decent damage and has a chance to power lock. The only downside is you're only generating power by hitting the opponent with the heavy, a special 2, or of course by getting hit. And up third, I put Mirage. I think Mirage, honestly, he's like the dark horse as well, kind of like Barricade. But Mirage being the dark horse of the techs, he's a very strong character with different utility on each special. He becomes a god when duped, and high signature makes him way better. His special 1 grants him increased range damage, speed, and power drain. His special 2 is unblockable and decreases the opponent's attack, stacks 15 times, and stuns the opponent every 7th attack decrease. His special 3 hits very hard and grants him permanent attack buffs every time he dodges an opponent's melee or ranged attack. I think it stacks up to like 20 or 21 times, and it enables him to just become an absolute monster and hit very, very hard. And oh, also he has a shield that decreases crit damage and refreshes every 15 seconds or after using a special. This basically makes damage from the likes of Ironhide do little to no damage, and not to mention he also shrugs off burns just by using like a heavy. So very good utility character in my opinion. Just allows you to basically play how you like. You can play from ranged by using his special 1, be up close with his special 2, or with his special 3, start dodging a bit and then just start going ham. And fourth, I put Rhinox. I think he's a strong character overall. His heavies cause power lock. His special 1 removes a damage buff and applies a bleed on the opponent. His special 2 and 3 can stack over 8 bleeds on the enemy. 8 is the most I've done, but I've seen over 10 bleeds like on apply. And one of the best things from Rhinox is his shields, his signature. He caps the damage of the opponent's attacks, and if the damage were to exceed the cap, it'll proc a shock on the enemy. Alliance mission, Rhinox is no joke and a pain to deal with for this very reason. Yeah, the Alliance mission, Rhinox, he's such a pain. I hate going up against him. If for some reason you land like a crit on him, it instantly applies like a shock damage because you're going over the cap, and he's just super hard to deal with, but overall he's still a strong character. And last but not least on the list, we have Shockwave. I think he's a bit underwhelming in terms of like damage and specials. Negating heal from the likes of like Megatron or Ratchet, it comes in handy from his special 2 and 3, but that debuff only applies to like just a few bots. His special 3 applies a few shock stacks, which they do decent damage, but that's pretty much all he has going for himself. His signature, undo damage, it's okay, but again, like, you don't want to keep getting hit. But honestly, I think his true power comes from pairing him with a full tech team. He gains so many beneficial buffs, but the downside to this, of course, is running with a team of like the same class, and just for that I put him at the end. But I think running with the full tech team can definitely increase Shockwave's overall ranking, I guess, on this on my tier list. But he's gonna be at the end. God, I feel like I talked so much, almost 30 minutes. Jeez, my voice is like killing me right now. I don't think I've ever talked this much, guys, in one go. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be my bot tier list video. Hope you guys, some of you have been asking for it. Hope this shed some light on some questions that you guys might have. Let me know if you guys agree with me. Let me know what your rankings would be. I know some of these can probably switch around, but yeah, we'll just keep it like this for now until 4.0 comes out, along with like a bunch of new bots. So yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave down in the comments how you would rank each class, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.